What's up, everybody? Today's guest is a young man named Fernando Puente. Fernando is a musician, an artist, used to be a graffiti writer, and he was also a human smuggler for the Tijuana Cartel.
I'll see which cop is just letting people in like this, and it was your job to follow me. After that was just jump in the trolley, ride a few stations. There was somebody pick him up. They would get him. That was it. I got my $500.
This guy grew up in San Diego and Tijuana. He was one of those guys with dual citizenship that would go back and forth.
I was roaming those streets really young. I saw this. I saw people fighting with machetes.
He remembers the cartel wars that were going on back in the mid-2000s between the Tijuana Cartel and the Sinaloa Cartel. And unfortunately, he got sucked into it like many young Mexican men of his generation.
People are always looking for sicarios and stuff like that. So I was getting offers from that type of stuff.
But he survived, he thrived, and now he is a music producer for the narco corridos that is taking off in Mexico.
So I just started getting the mix with music, and I was like, I'm gonna stick to this and see where this takes me.
He gives a fascinating insight into what's going on in Tijuana right now. The three cartel factions, Jalisco, Sinaloa, and Tijuana, that are battling it out for that city.
These 4 blocks are Tijuana, the next 5-6 blocks are Sinaloa, and the other blocks over there, they're from Jalisco. That's the actual stuff right now.
He also told us about the way that he transformed his life and how the music of narco corridos is, changing the community for the better.
You get more from the music than the news because the songs actually have to be authorized.
This was an amazing story, and you can also go hear some stuff that we can't tell you on the free episode, of course, at patreon.com/theconnectshow with Fernando. He's given us the real inside scoop about who's really running the cartel in Tijuana right now. Without further ado, I give you Fernando Puentes, everybody. You can only see that right here on The Connect with Johnny Mitchell.
You go 2 blocks away from where all the lights are, there's people fighting with machetes. There's kids playing in the middle of the street next to the guys fighting with machetes. The kids are the sons and daughters of the lady that owns a little retail store, but she also prostitutes herself. That is in the middle of a jungle. Let me put it to you like this.
That's when I see the lights behind me start to flash. And I didn't even think, I just hit it. I was driving like my life depended on it. And then I parked the car, hopped out, closed the door, and I started running.
And he pulls out a burner, a shank, it's like 6 inches. And then he passes it to me. And he goes, here, that's yours. Don't ever leave the cell block without this. He was the reason I made it out of that place alive.
What was it like as a kid in Tijuana in the 90s? They have the huge border wall. Was it there when you were a kid?
No, it wasn't that big of a deal. I would cross the border with my mom, and we would literally see my dad crossing the border running with like other people on the freeway, because that's how everybody used to cross back then. Like, it was so easy to cross.
They just run across that freeway.
Yeah, and he wouldn't even stay out here. Like, he would come and go. You know what I mean? Like, everybody, like, you could cross just, if you got good English, if you spoke good English, you could just cross with being U.S. citizen. Just be like, oh, I'm a U.S. citizen. Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
And they just wave you in.
Yeah, they just wave you in. So, yeah, the 90s, it was crazy, especially because my family was in the mix a little bit too. So, in my house, there was always these talks, or like the news, when something happened, like there was the talks around like, oh, look what happened. They whoever got caught, or they killed him or whatever. You know what I mean? So
wow.
It was something I kind of like heard around, the grown-ups. How
was your family involved?
Well, my grandma, it's like in the 90, 91, 92 type thing. She has a lot of friends from Sinaloa, and some of the main characters that you will hear today, well, back then they weren't that big. But my grandma, she had a lot of girlfriends that would date them, but my grandma would be like the one that go get food, go pick up this, go do that, like bring up to the house, go take this money. You know what I mean?
Right.
So she was kind of doing like stuff like that. And then eventually she started crossing with stuff. And then my mom, she's the oldest. So they started doing it together. Like it was heroin back in the day, I think.
Heroin.
That were crossing.
Right.
Yeah. And I actually spoke about this on Concrete. Shout out to Danny from Concrete. They stopped because they got caught in 93. My grandma was working for a certain person. And then that certain person, the work got a little bit slow. So she decided to go with somebody else. And that somebody else, what he did was he sent her with like, it wasn't even heroin. It was like 98% like cut.
Yeah.
But they just like ratted her in. So another.
So somebody else could get through.
Yeah, exactly. So they did that. So after that, they got caught, and they were looking at it a lot of years because it obviously was heroin.
Yeah.
But then the lawyers eventually, they tested the drug, and they was like, only 2% heroin. So eventually they came out in like a few months.
Right.
Because it wasn't even like, you know what I mean?
That's a good lawyer.
Yeah.
Because that's true. It's like it's only 10% heroin.
Yeah,
I should only do 10% of the time.
You can charge them for like kilos because it's not even, you know what I mean?
That's brilliant. Is that a defense? I feel like more lawyers should use that defense.
I'm pretty sure that's pretty common. And I would say, it's
let me be your lawyer, Your Honor. It was only 50% coke, 50% of it was fentanyl. Oops.
Yeah. No,
never mind.
Yeah.
You get double the time.
Now I saw that. But yeah, that's how eventually after that, my mom, she went straight after, like, she's not
scared
fucking ran a red light after that, like nothing, you know what I mean? And then my uncle grew up and he started getting in the mix a little bit. And he's only 9 years older than me. Well, he passed away last year, rest in peace. But and he started getting stuff like that. So yeah, since I was little, I've been going to jails to visit. I've been hearing about MCC. I've been hearing about the feds. I've been hearing about the Arellanos, the Sinaloa, and all this stuff. So it's kind of always been like, you know what I mean, around.
I feel like it's such when you grow up in a place like Tijuana, unless you're from the upper class, you are either this humble, poor person, or you've got some family members that are involved.
Well, don't
you agree? Like, it's inevitable.
Yeah, but in the 90s, I don't know if you remember, there was what they were called the narco juniors, which were families of the upper class.
Oh, right. Of the Arellano, Felix.
And they were all sons of like doctors and surgeons and stuff, but they were doing the killings, they were doing all this stuff. So like, there's no social class that's safe from like everybody, you know what I mean? And, well, especially now, like nowadays, everybody knows or has somebody that's been killed, even if they were just in the wrong place in the wrong time. Like my uncle, like he wasn't, like he worked at a shipyard and stuff, but he was just at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, did he get killed?
Chilling with the wrong people.
Did he get killed in Mexico?
Yeah,
or
he got killed in Tijuana. Yeah, just hanging out with the wrong people, and they came up and shot everybody. So
Well, first of all, do you remember the wars when Sinaloa was battling it out with the Arellano Felix brothers in the mid 2000s, like 2005? Do you remember when that was going on?
I was so young. I was in 2005. I was 15, but it's inevitable to be like, I was already in the streets. Like I said, I started doing graffiti, and like in TJ there was what do you guys out here call tag bangers? Like we do graffiti, but we still like defend the crew and we fight with other crews and stuff like that. Yeah. So that started transforming into cartels, like you know what I mean, like all our crews and stuff. Everybody started like the ones that were more violent, that like to fight more instead of paint more. They started joining cartels, started being sicarios, or they started doing whatever stuff like that. So,
and do you think that was around those wars when you were about 15, 16, and when the war on drugs was declared in Mexico?
I think it was declared in 2006.
Yeah,
with Vicente Fox. I think that was the president that did that. So yeah, we start seeing militarized streets, like convoys of big trucks with a bunch of people behind them. Some of them looked like cops. Some of them had AK-47, so they're not cops.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I was really a lot in the streets with my friends, and just this before the internet. Like there was internet, but not as big as this. So we're still kids that hang out in the streets a lot. You know what I mean? So yeah, we're seeing all this, and then we have older friends or older homies that now they're getting involved. So yeah, this is like firsthand. Like we're seeing all this happening.
And you grew up,
let alone the music, the corridos and stuff.
Right.
That's pretty big too. So we're listening to the grooves. They're talking about this. We're seeing what's going on. Like we're getting pulled over by cops too and stuff. So it's just. But
getting pulled over by the cops is just as bad. You can't trust the cops.
Yeah. Especially when they're in war. They're like on edge, you know what I mean? So everybody
or they're working for somebody usually.
That too,
Now
what I mean?
I've heard now, according to our friend Luis, our mutual friend, they've got their own organization now. Like they're the Policía Municipal are like their own cartel.
Yeah, I think it's not. I don't think they're even organized together either. I think they're just little groups of, because I'm maybe not all of them, because we have people like Ed Calderon that are, doing work that are actually trying to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there's certain groups that like certain bosses of like certain areas, like let's say the homicide department, the head of that department is with certain cartel, and maybe the robbery department is with somebody else.
Right.
So, and maybe one of them, they're not with none of them. So they're just robbing everybody, confiscating stuff.
Yep.
And then that's why you see these banners where they're threatening the cops like, hey, you took 50 kilos and on the news only 20 came out. Like you
Yeah.
better, or you either report all the kilos or you give them back or sell them
Right.
to me or something. But that's not your job, you know. So
Wow. So they'll actually the traffickers will call out the cops
exactly,
with those banners.
Yeah, if they see the news and not all of your stuff is there, they're like, oh wait, I had 100 kilos in the house and you guys are only reporting.
Will they name names?
Yeah. They will name names. Yeah, the banners they would. Yeah, they would do.
Now, has Instagram has social media replaced those banners at all? Like with the ways to like spread
no, they actually
news?
they have news outlets that are paid by cartels and stuff, and you can tell like some of them. You could tell the what do you call it, the favoritism to certain cartels. Like they'll call certain people like, oh, this low life narco, and then they'll call the other guy, oh, the señor. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, come on, bro. Like we know you. Yeah,
it's like
what I mean?
Fox News for the Republicans
Exactly,
and
just like
MSNBC for the Democrats.
Just like that. So we have that. So now they will leave a banner. And they'll take a picture of it and send it to those media outlets, and they will report it and have a detailed stuff of the beef that they have going on because they have information from the main person, you know.
So you grew up, you're born on stateside in San Diego, but
I was actually born here in LA.
You were born in LA?
Yeah, I was born in LA.
And you grew up in San Diego?
Tijuana and San Diego. Tijuana most, I think. I mean, like I said, half of my life was in San Diego because I went to school there. But most of my like vacations, weekends, everything, as soon as I got out of the bell ring, and sometimes even before the bell ring when I ditched, I would just catch the bus and cross the border and go back to TJ to my house and just be over there, you know?
So you went to school in San Diego, but your house
was in TJ.
Yeah. It was that easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody in the border, probably any border, even Luis, he's from Juarez and stuff. Yeah. Anybody that lives in the border has people that come and go every day.
It's crazy. It's almost like they're the same. Why don't they just make them the same place?
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. There's a border, there's a line through it, but the community is so blended in. It's so blended in.
What's up, you guys? Let's take a minute to thank our longtime sponsor of the show, Mood. You guys, this is the #1 CBD and Delta 8, Delta 9 products company in the country, completely legal and delivered discreetly to your doorstep. You guys, go over to hellomood.co to get a wide array of everything from gummies, edibles, pre-rolls, flour. You guys, I use CBD every day. It helps with my joint pain. It helps me sleep. It helps with anxiety, as well as the Delta 8 and Delta 9 products. Hello Mood is the last company you will need to use when it comes to these products, you guys. They are offering an amazing discount right now. You know what to do. Go over to hellomood.co and use that promo code CONNECT20 to get 20% off anything on their website. And that is a whole lot to choose from. And of course, they're offering an amazing giveaway. If you guys use the promo code CONNECT-FREE, you're going to get a 5-count pack of gummies delivered completely free. And all you do is pay for shipping. You guys, go to hellomood.co right now and support them because they support our great show. Thank you so much. Let's get back into the episode. Now, when you're in San Diego, as a Mexican person, and you must hear about all the gossip, who got killed in TJ, who's running things, whose load got snatched, etc.
I see in San Diego people that hide from TJ that don't go to
right.
I see people that became informants. You see them at the restaurants being,
like he's ratting. This guy's snitching
and
now.
they're just like in the clubs, like hanging out and stuff like that.
And 2 miles south, they could not go out or they'd be killed.
Yeah, some of them have prices on their heads, and they're just.
See what the power of law and order does? What a great country the United States.
Well, there's a lot of corruption
and
over here too. I mean, I've seen one of my. He's not my friend, but he's cousins to some of my friends. They're a few years younger than me. They grew up in the block behind my house, and one of them became an informant. And he's actually, what I've heard from his cousins is that he actually gets a cut of whatever he snitches on. They actually let him keep some of the stuff.
They let him keep the dope.
Yeah, and they just apparently, because I had a little run-in with him, they just say whatever. They just go to wherever he says, because I remember this one time there was a little run-in and he was mad about some stuff that my sister did or something. But in my house, well, at least in my mom's house, there's never been no illegal. Like we never keep drugs, nothing. My mom is like straight, so we keep her out of trouble. But he was mad, so he told the guy that he's working for, the police, that there was stuff in my house. So they showed up, no warrant. No, nothing. No, they didn't, you know what I mean? It was just like in TJ. They showed up, abuse of power. They went in, they searched the house with no authorization. And once they saw it was just there was nothing and
Mhm.
family stuff. They arrested my sister for an unpaid ticket
Wow.
or some shit, and they took her to, you know what I mean? We had to go get her and stuff, but it was crazy because he came after, like, that happened around 3 p.m. and he came at night, like at 8 p.m. to say sorry to my mom and stuff because he knew my family and stuff. So afterwards, he was like, "Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it to be like this, but I was having trouble with your sister's boyfriend, whatever, and
Wow.
stuff like that." So, but that's I gotta look behind of what the cops are willing to do.
Right.
Just for
Are these the feds or just the
this
local?
was I think this was SDPD.
Wow.
I think it was police department. It wasn't feds. It wasn't anything like that.
Why are these open snitches? Why are they not killed? I guess does the cartel not? They don't have people in the U.S. that will,
some cartels will actually go like the full length to try to get people even extradited, people that they're looking for. But I think they have to be like, I think like one of the bosses has to really have a personal thing with you for them to make a big or risk it. I mean, if you kidnap somebody in U.S. soil and bring it over there, charges are for that. You know what I mean?
Of course,
but
I guess
so it's not really worth it sometimes if they only snitch and I mean you got one shipment confiscated, but after that there's nothing going on, they're probably just let it go.
Right.
But if
I guess because Mexico's such a corrupt place, if you're a boss that the Mexican authorities already know about, you're already on the run anyways. It doesn't matter if you're snitching on me because everybody's, they know who I am.
And nobody wants to like have that death charge in the US. So like they don't really worry unless they really, I mean, like you see some of the informants now that are really big level informants, maybe they have some personal beef with people that are still bosses in Mexico.
Or if they think it'll keep them out of prison, they might go that length to have them eliminated.
Exactly. But it really has to be like something with the bosses. Like no, not really. Not everybody's gonna go back in a few years. Yeah, there used to be a gang called Los Palillos, which was very notoriously famous in San Diego because they were doing Mexican stuff in US. So like they would actually tell the cartel like, hey, if you need anybody over here, I'll bring it to you. And they were doing like the acid thing where they dissolve the bodies. They were doing that like I live in Paradise Hills, so they were doing that somewhere around there. And in Chula
San
Vista,
Diego.
yeah, they actually found some houses.
Shit.
This was back in like 2007 or something like that. It was pretty big in the news.
What about Logan Heights? Is that still an active neighborhood in San Diego?
I think they're pretty active. I mean, like as a gang and stuff like that. I don't really know a lot of their activity. I don't really know a lot of their members, but I'm pretty sure they're still making money somehow, or they're still keeping themselves active.
Luis, our friend Luis Chaparro, his whole angle is that the cartels don't exist in the U.S., that they're just associates. They're people who just sell drugs.
He said that?
He did.
Really?
Now I'm going to cause a beef here. He claims, and with good evidence, but it's still, disprove. It's not fact, right? It's his hypothesis as a journalist is that the cartel simply moves drugs from mainland Mexico to the border, where they're then smuggled across by U.S. citizens and then sold. Everybody's an independent contractor. He says there's no more workers. The cartel doesn't send any workers anymore. Is that true?
The thing is, that's also true in Mexico. Like you hear about the Sinaloa cartel, but not the whole Sinaloa cartel gets along with each other.
Right.
Like there's factions that don't really with each other. So everybody thinks that everybody's working together, that the cartel is like this big happy federation and company that everybody helps each other. But that's not really true. Like it's independent people that form this big, like, federation or whatever you want to call it. But a lot of those guys don't even get along with each other. So it's the same as over here. Like there's just people pushing the drugs to the border and then other people are catching it and doing whatever.
Right.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's people over there that have family over here, like cartels. They have like a lot of cousins over here because they got big ass families and probably that they stay connected that way. But over here, there's gangs, there's other stuff that actually distribute.
But so that's I guess what he's kind of saying.
But it's the same in Mexico. I mean, you can call them cartels over here. Like if like certain gangs are really big enough to have a little cartel. But
like say a family, right? An organization from Culiacan. That have, Sinaloa protects the drug routes, but they're the ones who fund the shipments. Will they actually send some of their people to this side to coordinate the drug shipments once they get across the border? They will do that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so that's pretty close to having cartel members in the United States. It's kind of just splitting hairs, though. It's kind of semantics at this point. That's interesting. So you're a high schooler. I want to get back to your story. You're this kid. You're an artist. You're tagging, right? You're
I was doing
graffiti
murals
artist.
actually. Yeah, I did.
So you're doing the cool murals.
Yeah.
Dude, you guys, Mexicans have the best murals.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks.
So, but now you're 16 and the cartel wars are really starting to blow up. You're starting to get pulled into that life as well.
Yeah, well, friends are starting to showing up to parties with like 3-4 Suburbans and filled up with cars with bulletproof and and it's the same guy you were tagging with a few months ago. You know what I mean? It's the same guy that you were beefing with. It's just fighting, like fist fighting, because he's from another neighborhood and you're from this neighborhood. But now they're defending like a bigger cause. Now they're making money. Now they got power and stuff. So like, you start seeing that and it's like, okay, well, I'm not making money.
Yeah.
Just begging out of nothing. So you start seeing where you fit in.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm a U.S. citizen, so I was definitely going to do something along the border.
So you're one of the most valuable assets to the Mexican cartels because you can move pretty much freely.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was your first dip into criminal activity with them?
Maybe officially the just smuggling people, bringing people across the border. That was my original charge. I got charged for that. I got caught for that. But,
tell us about that. Tell us about the people smuggling. So now the wall's up. That means the price. That means it's good business now because there's a wall there.
It's been good business for a while. Yeah, it's really been good business because a lot of people would rather deal with people than with drugs and stuff. Like if you lose drugs, it's you know what I mean. But if you lose people, like you can't really rob. Oh, like they can rob you for 10 kilos, but you can't really rob you for like a lot of
people.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's a little different. So. And it used to be back then. It used to be a little more chill business because it wasn't as they weren't killing each other. The people smugglers and stuff like that. They weren't really like beefing and stuff. They were really kind of way of the whole cartel like activity and stuff.
Yeah.
But then when the cartel and the whole military stuff started, like everybody had weapons. The Fast and Furious and stuff like that. Everybody had a bunch of guns. So now the cartel wants to be unlocked of every illegal stuff. Like
right. They want a piece of it all.
Of everything. Yeah. So I the guy I used to work for, he made really good money, like really good money.
Who did you work for?
It was a guy called his name was Sergio, Don Sergio back in the day. He I met him because he was from my neighborhood, but he was one of those old school you could say mafia guys that gave a lot back to the community. Like he would throw kind of like this for funding for like if there was somebody in the neighborhood that had cancer that needed cancer treatment stuff, like he would throw big ass parties and stuff like that. So to
raise money,
to raise money and stuff like that. And he would donate himself too, but he would just rather do this for like the whole community and stuff.
Yeah.
He fixed the what do you call it, the soccer and the basketball court and stuff like that. He fixed them because Mexico, they weren't really like taken care of. So he actually made it like with quality that everybody wanted to go play in our neighborhood because of, the tournaments were there was people that knew how to play and stuff like that. So all my friends play soccer. I didn't. I played when I was little. So they have he built a soccer team with like all-star soccer team. So my friends were playing with him. And once the whole war started going on and stuff, I remember we used to tell me and him, my friends and some other stuff, we were like, hey, how come you never have people taking care of you? Like he didn't have any bodyguards. He didn't have anything. So and shit started getting crazy. But so we would tell him like, hey, just give us some guns. We'll ride with you. Though. I mean, we're already chilling with you all day sometimes, so might as well just take care of you. But he never was one of those guys. He paid a lot of money to the cartel every month. So he would have protection from like the police and stuff like that. So he didn't really need.
And his business was just people smuggling?
Just people smuggling. Yeah. He had people like in Guadalajara or in southern states that were from his, he trusted them.
Yeah.
So they would send them people that were recommended, like, hey, he needs to cross. He's whoever's cousin. He's my Aunt Maria's cousin. Like, everybody was recommended.
And how much did it cost back when you first got involved, 2006? How much did it cost to have somebody cross you?
If I walked them across, it would be like $3,000 to $4,000 back then.
Back then,
and it was just like with papers. Like I said, if we have a white guy that looked like you, I just borrow your ID and have him. I would even take him to the haircut place and stuff like that. If you have like a mole in your face, we will draw it too and everything.
Wow.
And
how would you walk them across?
And we had different papers. Like let's say some people have the tourist visa and some people have the working or the residence. So if I had an ID of somebody that looked like you, let's say you're trying to cross, and I'm like, okay, I have the identity of somebody that works over there. So I'm gonna cross you at 5 a.m. when everybody's going to work. and I'm gonna give you this jacket of gardening or construction stuff, and I will give you a backpack with like some tools in it and stuff like that, the boots and everything. We have a whole closet of just different,
different looks.
Yeah, we go to Goodwill and stuff like that, places like that, and just buy like uniforms for or stuff like that. So if I had papers of a guy that worked over there, I would dress you up like that and stuff like that, and cross you like.
So you actually cross through the checkpoints?
Yeah. Because you have papers, so
Right.
I would just be like, just follow me, like a couple of people in the back,
Right.
with 2 or 3 people in the back. I'll make the line. I'll see which cop is just letting people in like this.
Yeah.
And then I go there, and it was your job to follow me. And after that was just jump in the trolley, ride a few stations. There was somebody pick them up. They would get them. That was it. I got my $500
that's
bucks.
the whole operation. You get $500 for that.
Per head, yeah.
Easiest money.
I'm 18. I'm 17. Like I'm chilling.
That's
with
$1,500.
Sometimes I
huge.
would cross the border 2 times a day with like 2 people in each trip. So that's $1,000.
Couple $1,000 bucks. It's
exactly.
amazing for a teenager in Tijuana.
Yeah, exactly. So
Wow.
so he kind of. That's the first time I saw, like, I learned how to like make money like that, and he was actually teaching me to, because he said, if you're gonna be in the, try to be the ones that make money and be more business minded than the killing and stuff. Because we came from like the gangs type thing, so that's what would happen with us. The more like people are always looking for sicarios and stuff like that. So I was getting offers from that type of stuff, but he really actually, rest in peace, he actually cared about me, so he taught me the other side.
He's like, you want money.
Yeah, you want this, and stay away from that. Don't go out to like all these clubs where all the fools are. Like, you're gonna go out with like your girl or something. Try to go like to all these other fancy places.
It's always the cartels, and especially like the Arellano Felix cartel, the family. They're like upper class white Mexicans, but the people that are killing for them and dying for them, they're all brown. They're all the dark Mexicans.
After the juniors, they everybody, it was just people from the hoods, like
from the
Barrio Logan and from stuff like that started. Like,
so you don't want to be those guys. He said you want to be the guy. That's
he actually
money.
didn't even want me in the at all.
Yeah,
he wanted me to do something else. But once he saw that I was just going that path anyway, he's like, all right, just
do it the right way.
Do it the right way.
So what happened to him? How did he die?
He the war started with the Arellano Felix. One of the bosses of he was a boss of an area. He flipped. He went to the Sinaloa cartel, and there was a big shootout that happened. It's pretty well known in Tijuana. Like 16 people. Like the whole cartel met up because it was already rumors that the other guy had flipped. So they actually told him to meet up. He wasn't there, so the shooting started. A lot of people died and stuff. So that was the official break point of the cartel.
Oh wow!
And after that, just like any war, they were telling everybody that would pay good money to the cartel every month. They were like, okay, now you need to pay me, them.
Yeah.
So he got this notice from both guys. So he decided to stick with the locals, but he never had people taking care of him because he was always like. One time they actually came for. I saw the whole thing. Like I saw the guys that came out in the newspaper that were actually doing the cleaning that broke from the other cartel that betrayed the cartel. What they were saying. I saw them riding around his house, and me and we saw that. So I called him. I was like, "Hey, this character, he's riding. I just saw him, and they're doing like some weird. I'm pretty sure they're here for you." So he actually called back up, and like 10 police cars showed up, and they just started going around. But I saw them that before the cops entered the neighborhood, they started leaving. They started getting in cars, and they just started leaving because they got calls that, hey, the cops are coming.
Yeah.
So he got saved from that one, but 2 days after they came back and they got him, and
they killed him.
He was kidnapped for like 2 days, and then they actually left him hanging from a bridge with a banner. So yeah.
He didn't deserve that.
He didn't deserve that at all.
So, and Ken, what are you going to do? He's like, both of you want me to pay you. I can't, you're going to put me out of business.
Yeah.
So was that common? Did that become commonplace?
Yeah. Once the war started, it became like people were just in the middle of it, like him. Like,
so if you were involved, you had to pick a side.
Yeah. And you better hope that side wins because both sides were strong.
Right.
So, I mean, you really you either paid both or just stayed out of the way.
So how did it work then? The structure of Tijuana, you have it's a huge city. You have a barrio, a certain neighborhood who's got a Don, like your Don, what was his name?
Sergio.
Don Sergio. So Don Sergio paid a tax to the cartel.
Yeah.
Who at the time was the Arellano Felix brothers.
Yeah.
But
everybody was together. But now
Sinaloa is here. So half of the city is split.
Yeah.
So you have certain neighborhoods and Dons.
Now it's like gangs. Now it's like these 4 blocks are Tijuana. The next 5, 6 blocks are Sinaloa. And the other blocks over there, they're from Jalisco. That's the actual stuff right now.
And that's right now. So
That's
now you
right
have
now.
3 players. So would you say that right now is even crazier than
Oh, yeah.
2006?
Yeah, it's getting crazier. It's just
Really?
been getting crazier, yeah. Because back then, I don't know, it was just, I mean, you could just see the death toll numbers. It was, you know, it was a few thousands less back in the day
Right.
when the whole war started. But now it's like...
It's not getting a lot of press now, though.
No, but back in the days, it was mostly like the cartels killing each other. Now it's a lot of like gangs, like crackheads killing other crackheads, like people killing innocent people because they're taking advantage that everybody's killing. So, I mean, if you kill if you have, I don't know, if you argue with your neighbor, you kill them, they're going to think it's cartel related, you know what I mean? So now it's shit like that going on. That's how my uncle got killed. Like he was just, and there's a lot of people, innocent people, not only my uncle, that have gotten killed just because people took advantage of the situation that's going on in the city. So
after Don Sergio met his end, how did you move forward? What did you do after that?
Well, he passed right before I got out of my 2 months that I served in the MCC in San Diego.
Okay, so how did you get caught? So let's back up. So you're working for him, helping move people across the border. First of all, were they Mexicans, these people, or were they Central Americans?
Yeah, most of them were Mexicans, and sometimes he would have like Brazilians and Russians and Chinese people. They go way up more. That's like 3 times their price. But
so you charge the Europeans
no, but they
more.
actually went through like in cars and stuff like that. I never walked them across. They would go some in a different way.
Okay. Did you ever drive people through?
No, I never
Okay.
drove. But I drove cars back. Like some cars that would cross, I would drive them back. Like they would park them over there, and he would be like, "Hey, we might need that car again," because most of them were stolen too. So he might be like, "Hey, you know what? We might need that car again. Just bring it back." And I would cross people over. And I was already in San Diego, so I'll be like, okay, where's the car? Like, oh, over there. And just go and pick up the car and get it out and stuff like that. Or the money or shit like that. You know? So I get out of the MCC 2 months after.
How did you get caught? Sorry, I want to know how you got caught.
My bad. They just started checking the cameras, and they one of the guys that was crossing, he got caught, and he snitched on me. They were like, who was bringing you in? He's like, oh, I was following that guy. So 2 days after, I'm going in with she was like 17, 18-year-old girl from Guadalajara, and she was meeting up with her family over here and stuff. It's funny because a lot of these cases are like really heartwarming. Like they're actually going to their family. Like I never crossed any criminals. I'm not trying to justify myself, but they were all going to work or they were going back to their families that were being deported and stuff like that. It was all these stories that really touch your,
of course. Well, criminals can cross themselves. Yeah, like they don't need a guy like you.
I crossed this old couple one time. Not both of them, but I think I crossed the wife. They were really old, like old people. And I remember the husband, as soon as I dropped her off, his son was gonna pay me, the son of the lady, he was gonna pay me cash. So we're waiting for him, but he was so happy he started taking like his cash from his pocket. He's like, just take it out. I was like, no, like no, I'm getting like the cash, like. No, not like that. I didn't even want to take his money. No, like, no, not like that. But he was just so happy, like, to have his wife back.
To be reunited with his wife.
Like I said, I'm not trying to justify my shit, but I mean, it's really just a line, you know? It's just really, you see that, and it's just crazy. So,
well, especially now, I mean, with the caravans now, it's I can't even imagine.
It's literally people looking for a better life. Like I'm pretty sure there's some people that might want to come in here and like do some shady shit. I like always, but just like says there's Americans that go over there and do shady shit in Mexico. You know what I mean?
I think most people
but
don't.
Most people are actually looking for a better life. Most people, and I noticed that. I lived that. I saw that. You know. So like going back to I got caught. I'm crossing this girl back, and they're following. They actually let us through. And I get on the trolley, and I remember my friend, he was with me, and he had a couple, he was going to bring somebody too, but his got caught. And I remember he was like, nah, man, what if they're following us? What if they're onto us? And I remember there was this white guy, I tell this in concrete, there was this white old guy next to me sitting in the trolley, and I was like, in Spanish, I was like, it's probably this guy, bro. And if he is, man, you could go. So like, whatever. I started talking shit about him.
In Spanish?
In Spanish. But it was the guy behind me, the cop. He was just standing right next to me, and he was listening to everything because I go a few stations on Palomar Street, and once I'm making the drop, once the car shows up and I open the door for the girl to get in, all these undercover cars just start popping, and I'm like, like already, like from then on, I was like, damn. So they start talking shit in Spanish. Like,
is that Homeland Security?
Yeah, it was Homeland Security, and they started treating me bad because they thought I was a Mexican. until they pulled out my passport. And then one guy, I remember, he was like, "Hey, no, he's a USC. Which one? This guy is a USC." And they start like whispering and stuff. And that's where I was like, "Oh, is the handcuffs too tight? Or you want to sit?"
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was funny. It was different. Yeah.
And then why is that? Because they think you're gonna sue?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't really
Is it
think
racism?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what kind of.
Because most of these guys are Mexican, the cops, right? They're Mexican American.
No, they were
right?
They're
white guys.
Well, actually, the guy that was talking shit to me was Mexican.
Of course,
but
he
after
was.
they found out that I was a U.S. citizen, they sent me to the white couple because there was a couple of white cops, and they actually had the undercover cop as the family car. They actually had like kids' toys and like a baby seat. I was taken right next to a baby seat, and there was just a mess. So I think they're actually, if they weren't, they really played the couple version. You know, they really pulled off that one. But yeah, I get caught. They take me back to the border. And I was just like, okay, what time are you guys taking me to MCC? Because at this time, my family and a bunch of my friends have been to MCC. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to know somebody at MCC. So I'm pretty chilling, you know what I mean? I'm
and
like,
you know the
I'm
routine.
I'm not doing a lot of time.
Right.
I'm pretty, like, I'm in a up situation, but it could be way worse.
Yeah.
Let's put it like that. So I'm trying to be like, whatever.
If you get caught driving, is the penalty different if you get caught with a bunch of people like in your car trying to cross them?
If you're risking the lives, I think you get charged for risking it, because back then I don't know if you remember, but they used to cross people like in gas tanks or stuff like that. So that's literally like some people would die and stuff like that. So now if you have them in a compartment where they're risking their lives, I think you get charged for shit like that too.
What about, do they take people? You know, I met tons of Mexicans when I was locked up. A few of them, they said they took a boat around. You know, obviously on the ocean. Do they still do that? Do they cross people like that?
Yeah.
Wow. So I imagine
there's ways to cross that you can't even imagine.
What are some of the craziest ways that people get smuggled across?
Well, I don't know if they still do this, but I'm gonna tell you one that they used to do back in the day. I don't know if you've been to the in Tijuana, the right on the border by the beach. There's a park in the U.S. side where they sometimes meet with the families, and they do this meets where they actually, the cops will open the border so families could actually interact and stuff like that. But in that park, there's a lot of bikers that go out there and just bike. So what they would do in the Mexican side, they would dress you up with the whole biker suit, and they just jump the border and then just start, and
then just ride, just ride as fast as you can.
Wow. And then just wave at the border patrol.
Border patrol. Yeah.
And that's some of the funny ways
that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
But boats, jet skis, all that. That's always been active.
Yeah.
And I'm not even like putting anyone out. This has been going on for 20
knows
years.
that. It's just like drugs. It's a crapshoot. It's like some of you will get picked up. You know, I imagine you just go at night and you floor it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's when you see people that running videos from people running in La Jolla Beach or something like that. They just pull up and they just start riding and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I get caught and I know I'm chilling because I'm not gonna do a lot of time, if any, you know. So I'm like, hey, what's up? What time are you taking me to MCC? And then I remember one of the cops, he was like, well, if you're willing to give your declaration right now, I'll have you out there by the morning. And I was like, well, so what do you want to know? He's like, just tell us what you were doing. I was like, all right, for sure. So I just made up this funny ass story about, I was like, no, I work for a guy named El Chapo, but it's not like the Chapo. It's just, there's a lot of El Chapos we call Chapos any short guy in Mexico. Any short guy is like Shorty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a very typical name. So I was like, yeah, and how do you bring him to the border? I was like, I just drove a taxi. What's the number of the taxi? Oh, 7345. Like I just started coming like with all this fake shit. And then they actually let me call my mom after I was like, all right, I told everything, like, can I tell my mom and this? And so I told my mom, I called my mom, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be locked up, whatever, this and that. Can you come get my stuff and just do the regular shit? So they did. They actually sent me to MCC right like in the morning, a few hours later.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I got.
Did you bail out?
Yeah, I bailed out.
Yeah, because you're a U.S. citizen, so you can get out.
Yeah. As soon as they approved my bail, I got bailed out.
Yeah.
That was a week. So I just had to go back and do 2 months. When I got sentenced for like 60 days. And I mean, even my probation was not laughing, but he was like, I can't believe this is a crime. Like he was like, I can't believe you're being charged for aiding and abetting.
So where do you do 60 days of federal time?
At the MCC.
Okay, so that's the jail, but for people that are
that's
charged
federal.
Federally.
That's federal.
Right.
So you get all the big conspiracies. They're there. They're getting there. And I mean, you have the GO and you have the CCA, but it's always like the MCC, like the main one.
And you were telling me when you were in there, that's when you really started making connections.
Yeah, well, it's funny, and I compared this to like the Forrest Gump story because I know a lot of people that went big in the cartel, and it's not because I ever worked with them. We're just friends from the mural, the graffiti. We're just friends from the hood, from parties and stuff. And then, I have a lot of friends. I always kind of click in with people where I go. So now these people, they appreciate me and stuff. So I know kind of have a connection with them. So when I'm in jail and I start listening to these names of big conspiracy and stuff, like, oh, I know this guy. He's the, like, all of a sudden I am aware that I was like, oh shit, I know a lot. Like, you know what I mean? Like you don't know how deep you are and stuff like that until you start like talking like in prison with other people. And I'm like, cause I'm 19, I'm 18, 19. So I'm having talks with like these 30-something-year-old guys, these 20-something that are with big conspiracies and stuff. And I'm part of the conversation. So I'm like, damn, like I know a lot, like, you know what I mean? So like I said, once you're like in the groove, the more doors open. Like the more you're well known, you got good word from your friends, you know, they start trusting you more. So I just start making more friends. And the thing that happened is I do my 60 days. I'm just chilling. So I get out. And I still remember one of them guys. He's like, bro, you're going to be back in no time. I was like, man, you. Like, I'm not trying to go back. And I was back next year because of violations. Like, I never picked up another charge. I haven't picked up since 2009. I haven't picked up any other charge because I haven't done shit anymore. So I've been straight. But after that, I didn't pick up any charges. I only went back because of violations. Just like going to TJ without permission.
Yeah, stupid shit.
Testing positive on a dirty test and shit like that. And I actually got sentenced to 4 months in prison for a violation. I did more time for my violations than for my crime. I did 4 months for violation in jail and then 4 months in the halfway house. And then in the halfway house, I got kicked out on the 3rd month because we're body shots with the Sinaloas, the Tijuana against Sinaloa. So, I mean, it was just fun. It was pure fun. We're all friends, but we're starting like the Tijuanas. We started like, yeah, you're from TJ, you got to be on your shit. So we just started just having like a little program in the halfway house. And then the Sinaloas were laughing. So I was like, oh, so like, and we started going against each other. But it was really like, we were really each other up in a friendly way. That one day, one of the homies was showering. My friend, he's from Sinaloa. He was in the shower and he was all bruised up from the ribs. Yeah. So one CEO saw him and he was like, nah, that you guys are not playing. And everybody's like, nah, we're playing. Like, you see, we're cool. We with it every day. But they were like, nah, this is not playing. So they wanted to send us back for a violation. They wanted to send us back to jail. And then I talked to my probation. I was like, look, man, if you send me back home, I'm not going to get in trouble because I live with my mom and stuff. I'm like 20 something years. But I was like, but if you keep me in this place where I'm just with criminals, it's probably more common that I'm going to keep getting in trouble. Yeah. And he actually took my word. He's like, all right, I'm going to let you live with your family for this last year of probation that you have. But if you or anything, I'm going to send you back for 8 months and then you're going to do another year of probation. And for that year, I actually like got a job and I stayed clean and everything until I got off probation.
Now, what happened? Don Sergio gets killed.
Yeah, my bad. I get out on the first 2 months that I do and I go back to TJ. And we meet up. He's happy to see me that I only did a few times and stuff. And he actually, the last time I saw him, he told me, I got this big job that we're going to do and it's going to make us a lot of money. He told me, like, I got this job for both of us. It's going to make a lot of money. Just wait here for me. I'll be back. I'm going to a meeting. He went to a meeting. And then that's the day where I saw people that were like roaming his house. So he didn't go back to the hood that day. And then that's the last time I see him. I just talked to him on the phone, like, hey, when are we going to have that meeting? So I was like, just let me go back home, whatever, this and that. So he went to the house the next day, and that's when they got
kidnapped.
And that's yeah.
So, and what did you do after that? Did you get out of the life, or did you just start going deeper?
No, I start. I couldn't really do a lot because I was on probation, but I was like middle-manning stuff.
Well, here's the thing, though. If you're in Mexico, how does probation in the U.S. even apply to that?
Well, in the border, they let a lot of people go back and forth. TJ, if you have, let's say, if I didn't have any family in San Diego, I could ask like, hey, I have my family. I mean, I can still keep reporting as long as I don't miss my reports and my pizzas and everything. They'll be like, okay. But if you have family in San Diego stuff, they're like, nah, you gotta stay over here. But even then, you can ask for permissions. If you're doing good and stuff, they'll be like, hey, I got this family event in San Diego. Can I go to my grandma's house? And okay, you can go on Saturday, but come be back here by Sunday.
What kind of cooperation is there? Say you catch a charge in San Diego, right? They catch you with some dope, you violated probation, whatever. You go on the run back to TJ. What kind of odds? Like, do they let the cops know down there?
Yeah, they
look for this guy.
They actually there's this. It's called enlace in Spanish, which in English would translate to.
Enlace is like a spear.
No. Like like a connection. I think kind of like a hook or a plug type thing. where it's it's Homeland Security, not Homeland, the Marshals. The Marshals, they take care of the fugitives.
Yeah.
So there's a group of Marshals that is connected with a group of state police in Mexico.
Yeah.
That I think, well, word on the street was that they actually pay them for every American fugitive that they caught and they bring back.
Right.
The word on the street, they actually get
I believe it.
Yeah,
or else
they get paid.
Yeah, you got to pay for everything in Mexico.
But yeah, they like if state cops over there pull you over and they run your name, like, and you have shit over here, they will turn you in.
But the state cops are so dirty, man. The idea is you got to have enough money to outbid the U.S. Marshals. I would think, right?
Yeah, unless and that's why you see a lot of. I mean, Conejo. That's what they did to him.
Yeah,
they sent him to state police, which in this case was at Calderon.
Yeah,
and they cut him back. But if you see, they don't really do that to like the bosses.
They don't do that to bosses.
They don't do it because the bosses can outpay the Marshals. You know what I mean? I mean, word in the street back in the day was that the cops were getting like $500 or something like that. I mean, that's what people were saying in the street. I'm probably pretty sure it was more, but I mean, you're well aware that any cartel boss can top $500. You know what I mean?
Of course. Ken, now when Don Sergio died, did you get into, after you got off probation, did you get into drugs at all? Did you get into drug smuggling?
Yeah, I like I said, I was middlemaning in Mexico. I had friends, I knew drivers that crossed shit, and I knew people that had shit to cross. So I would just put them together.
Great. Okay, this is fascinating. Drivers, American citizens, right?
Or whatever, as long as one of the things they look for, and this is not putting anybody's business out there, it's pretty well known. They look for the people that cross every day, like either you work over there, you go to school over there, and stuff like that. So that's the most people that you want to trust.
Okay, so you say you got a group, you got drug traffickers, right, in Mexico. They need drivers.
Yeah.
So they tell you because you're American and you're connected over there.
They're actually asking everybody. Like you don't even have to be there. Like if you're moving shit in TJ, everybody has gotten that offer. Hey, do you know anybody that's, and everybody, bro. This is not. I'm not snitching on me or friend. Anybody in TJ. No, I'm just telling this to the camera because I always get these comments. Like when I went to Concrete, they were like, "Oh, this guy's dead when he goes back to TJ." I'm like, bro, I'm in TJ every day. Like, what are you talking about? Like the shit I'm saying right here, it's well known where I'm from. Like in my community, shit like that is there's no secrets.
Because in Tijuana, anybody can get drugs wholesale.
Yeah, anybody.
It's the drivers.
Anybody can get in the mix, let alone drugs. Like you could become whatever you want just asking. Like
it seems like the drug dealers need the drivers.
Yeah, drivers are needed every day.
Drivers are more demand than drugs.
That's why.
So how were you middlemaning? Where did you come in? Who were you helping? The dealers or the drivers?
I just knew both sides. I just know a lot of people. I've always known a lot of people. So like eventually I knew. Let's say if you're like, hey, we're just talking and you're like, yeah, my cousin's been making good money because he's been running shit across the border, and I have one of my friends that, well, actually everybody needs drivers. So like, there's always people needing drivers. So as soon as you hear about one driver, you're like, hey. You think he's down for, and you're like, I could ask him, whatever. And then you ask him, hey, here you go, his number, get in contact. And I'll get in contact with him. He's like, you down? It's this. What am I crossing? Well, it's this. Okay, how do you cross it? Well, I cross him in the spare tire. I cross him in, I got a hidden compressor, whatever it is. And I'll be like, okay, sometimes I wouldn't even do all that. Sometimes I'd be like, oh, this is my friend. He needs shit across. You cross shit. You guys do your thing, whatever.
And then you just take
my friends would be like, "Hey, I got your money."
Kick you off
every time he'll, and then I wouldn't want to know anything else. They'd be
okay.
Like, so little shit like that.
How does what is the going rate for crossing something in Tijuana?
Well, this is back in the day. Right now, I wouldn't even know because I still know friends, but we don't have those type of conversations anymore.
Okay, but back in the day, we'll account for inflation later. Back in the day, how much did it cost to get? Let's say make it simple, 5 pounds of meth. What is that going to take? What do I have to pay you to drive that across?
I remember, I don't know about 5 pounds of meth, but I remember this lady, she was crossing in her vagina. She was crossing, I think it was like a QP, like a quarter, not QP, like a quarter kilo of Coke. She would bring like a quarter every time she crossed, but she would put it in her vagina. It was this big
9 ounces of Coke.
And
she would drive that across.
She would drive it across, yeah. She was a big lady, so I'm guessing, like, you know what I mean? She never had any trouble.
There was room down there.
But she was getting $1,000 for every quarter of the kilo. So that's kind of like,
so 9 ounces for about $1,000 for 9 ounces.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so that's not very much money.
Yeah, that's not, because it's like what they call it, like little by little, like, you know, micro smuggling.
Micro trafficking.
That's what
Do you
they call
think
it.
most of the smuggling now is micro smuggling?
No, there's a lot of micro smuggling, but there's a lot of macro smuggling too. Yeah.
Now, do those drivers? I always wonder, because the drivers who are driving the big commercial trucks, they get caught with enough dope to send a whole city away for life, right? It's silly, but they don't own the dope. They don't. They
get paid good money.
But do some of them cross and don't even know that they have?
Nah, most of them know.
Most of them know.
Most of them know.
But aren't you able to get it? Couldn't a good lawyer be like, look, he just drives for this trucking company. He's not responsible. He doesn't pack the jalapenos. Those are made in a factory in Jalisco.
Yeah, but for all that, you gotta go to. You gotta, you know, at first when you get caught, the feds, they'll be like, look, if you what do you call it? When you accept the charges, if you plead guilty for this, we won't charge you for all of this. We'll give you a little time, but don't make us waste money on going to trial.
Of course not. That's with everybody.
But in order for you to do that, to be like, no, to prove the company is not you got to go to trial. And most people don't want to go to trial because, you know, eventually probably you're going to be guilty. You know what I mean?
Okay. So you think the drivers just take the
drivers
time.
just take the better.
What do they usually get? 10 years?
I mean, yeah, if you get 10, you do 7 type thing.
Wow. So that's, because I met Sinaloans that took a conspiracy for a pound of meth to trial, and they lost. They blew trial and they gave them 15 years. So if you get caught with you get caught with 300 kilos of fentanyl.
Trial. Yeah.
You can plead out right away.
They just tells you, if you don't take the plea and you're guilty, and we found you guilty, you're gonna get the max.
Yeah.
So it's not that deal. That's why that deal is so tempting. Right. You know what I mean?
And I bet it's so common that they can't give everybody life, because it happens every day. So they got to just move people through the system. They're like, you got caught with and I'm pretty sure you're
aware that going to trial is a lot of money.
Yeah,
going to trial. So like, but they try to avoid
that. That makes sense. So it's but you were dealing basically with micro smugglers. Like you were connecting.
More for micro. Yeah, not really like trucks and big stuff like that. I mean, I have friends that cross like 10, 15 people, 20 people at the same time over on the cerro, on the mountains and stuff like that. They do stuff like that.
Really?
And some of those people might be carrying shit. So,
okay. Tell us about that. What does that look like?
Well, what they did back in the day, I don't know if I'm pretty sure they still do it, and they do it all along the even in Sonora and Arizona and all these places. I mean, if you have like 20, 30 illegal immigrants, you might as well give them a little backpack with like a kilo each. You know what I mean? That's 20 kilos and 20 illegal immigrants. That's bank.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah. And what if they refuse?
Well, it depends on the cartel,
right? Because I know a lot of
TJ they don't really abuse.
They don't trip like that.
Right. But I've heard like stuff in Tamaulipas and shit like that where they actually like kidnap them and stuff like that.
And they force them.
Yeah, it's rough out there. But in TJ, it's not really. In TJ, what's going on that's a part is now they got what they do now is if they know you cross the border a lot, they follow you home and they put shit on your without you knowing with the GPS and stuff. And they just follow you across the border and stuff like that. And it sucks because people literally don't know. So there's been a lot of cases where people are getting caught. But even
honestly, that's win-win. That's in my opinion, that's win-win.
But I mean, the people that get caught, like they still go through a little process.
It's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, they don't get the car back.
Yeah,
they probably lost their job because it's a 3 to 6 month
process to prove you're like, look, I'm a cleaner.
Yeah, so I mean, it sucks for the victim, man. Like that's literally a victim right there. Because
it is.
People are doing that, but like you said, if you see it from the streets, you're like, that's win-win.
That's a sweet deal.
Because some of the drivers have trouble staying calm when they're like.
Yeah.
When they're about to cross.
Yeah.
But if you literally don't know that you have shit.
You're so calm. It's
you're
probably
on your regular
through.
day. You're drinking coffee, just going to work, you know?
Yeah.
And while you're at work, some people taking this shit out.
Dude, I literally think we did an episode on the Connect about this. Where like, if I was going to smuggle drugs, I would strap it to somebody who didn't know.
Yeah. Well, there's people like, let's say there's people that smuggle people and they would just tell the person like, just jump in the trunk.
Yeah.
And get out when the car stops, you know? So, I mean, shit. Yeah, it's crazy, man. That's some of the f***ed up part that I be telling. Like, I know people that have done that or whatever, and I'm like, bro, that's f***ed up. Like, I know you're winning, but that's a little fucked up.
So how did your friends? You're getting older now. You're in your 20s. You're starting to make music, right? Or what do you
no,
get
the thing
into?
is, I started selling weed.
That's right.
I started taking weed too because
I love this hustle.
yeah, I was doing that middleman shit, but I didn't want to. After my friends got killed, I didn't want to be a lot like out there, you know. So I kind of like downgraded to something. I found a safe spot where I could still deal with like be friends with cartel people and stuff like that, but I was selling weed, and back then nobody was selling American weed. So cartel thinks like weed is not a lot of money. If you're like a dealer of weed, they're like, oh, he's selling like Reggie, like $20 ounces. How much money could he be making?
Yeah, how much can you make in Mexico selling Mexican weed? I'm making
like $250, $300 ounces type thing. So so I'm just making good money. And actually, I'm selling to some of my friends that are now becoming bosses. So I'm selling them weed because we're friends, and they're like, "Hey, bro, can you give me some?" Yeah. So I'm So
are you just selling them personal amounts, or do they?
No, personal amounts. They're not even willing to. Not like right now. People are in the business right now, but back then they weren't even caring about the legal weed business. Yeah. So I'm just getting them the good weed and stuff, and I'm just their friend, you know. But I start going out to clubs and stuff, and I started seeing people I hadn't seen in a while, you know. And I remember one of my friends. He showed up and he's like, "Hey, what's up, bro?" And I seen him with a few dudes, you know. There was a nice club, like a fancy like fresa club, what we call it.
Yeah, Hong Kong. We've all
no,
heard of it.
that's not fresa at all. That's not fancy at all. I'm talking about like a fancy nightclub where you see.
Well, don't say that's not fancy. I'm trying to go there for my bachelor party, man.
I mean, but that's why you want to go because it's not fancy. You want to get the, you know, you want to be in the raw spots. But yeah, I mean, once
we should do an ad read for Hong Kong on this show. Is this not the
shout out to Hong Kong and shout out to all my friends that work in Hong Kong?
Yeah, I have promoted it a lot. I talk about Hong Kong in every episode.
I've known girls that work in Hong Kong since I was little.
Yeah, the baddest bitches.
Yeah, the baddest bitches. Yep. Shout out to all of them. Love you. And but no, it was this fancy clubs where like the high end people go to and shit like that. So I remember I saw one of my friends that I hadn't seen in a while from the hood. He's not from my hood, but it was from those times. And he was with other guys just like looking like all suspicious, you know, like low hats and stuff. They didn't look like they were paying to be there, you know what I mean? And he was like, "Hey, what's up? Like, haven't seen you, whatever, this and that." He's like, I'm actually here with el señor. That's what he said. I'm here with the boss, whatever. And at this time, I met a lot. I mean, there's all these people that think they are, you know, that oh, I'm working for whatever, you know. So now when you get somebody like that, I'm like, okay, whatever. He's probably just doing some small shit, whatever. So he's like, I want to introduce you to him, and I was like, okay, let's go. I'm always like meeting people and stuff. I'm never like I don't want to, you know. So I go over there, and it's actually one of the guys that became a boss. He was already kind of like known there. He was making his way because he's a little younger than me, but he eventually became. Now he's one of the bosses.
And he's still active.
Yeah, he's still active right now.
How does somebody, before we get into your little hustle, which I love, how do you become a boss?
You just survive and try to stay relevant, stay making money.
But do you start out with an organization?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It depends. I mean, there's cases of people that, let's say there was this group of cousins. They were a family, and they used to move a lot of drugs, but they weren't really with the cartel. They were just copying the drugs from but they wouldn't work for them. You know what I mean? But they just had a lot of like there were just a bunch of them, like cousins and friends and stuff, that they were like their own little gang. Like they had guns, they would patrol the streets and shit like that, but they weren't with nobody. But then the cartel started like hearing about their names. So there's people now asking about like, hey, who are these guys? Whatever. So now they join a faction. Like they actually got invites from like a bunch of factions from the cartel because they were really effective, that they just went with the best. And there's cases like that. And then there's cases of people that grew up in the cartel that was working for this guy, but he got caught and now you work for this guy. He got killed, so now you work for this guy. And if you just keep doing good and you know. So
it's about money. It's if you're a good earner,
you can work your way in. A little bit of everything, because I mean there's
because
but there's narcos that don't want to mess with the politics. There's narcos that just want to make their money, and they don't care about the politics. They don't care about Sinaloa against this guy. They don't care about nothing.
But do they still have to pay up though, don't they?
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, if you're really up there, you're already working for the boss, so you don't really have to pay nobody. You know, you're already moving shit for the boss if you're really up there. So there's not really somebody to pay. It's not like when the Arianos were here, we're like, no, you got to pay the company. Like, nah, there's a lot of independent ones that, I mean, if you're friends with a cartel boss and sometimes you help them move this and that, you don't have to pay, you know, you're good.
So how does your, I guess, because, you know.
I mean, like where we were going is, I think to become a boss, you gotta have a little bit of everything. You gotta be involved in the politics. You gotta be involved in the drug trade. You gotta be involved with the war, whoever you guys are beefing with.
Yeah.
You gotta stay on top. You gotta really be like a leader, you know? And,
You have to pay off authority. You have to have
gotta
cops
kill
on your
people
side.
that want to kill you. You gotta do a little bit of everything. Because if you just want to make money, there's people like that. There's people that are living happy, just making money, not worrying about
just being drug traffickers.
And they don't even look like drug traffickers. You know, they're just living regular entrepreneur life. And
that's chilling. You know, we were in Culiacan, and you don't even know this, Brian. We were having seafood. They got really good seafood in Sinaloa, best, right? Yeah. And there's this family that had this tiny little seafood restaurant, just like in the barrio, like outdoors, right? It just looked like somebody's patio in a house, but they had this delicious seafood operation going. And we found out, our guide was like, oh yeah, these are some of the biggest fentanyl investors in Culiacan.
Damn.
And they're just like dorky white dudes, like dudes like my father, just really like, can we do anything for you? They wanted a picture with us afterwards. And months later, Luis was like, oh yeah, these guys put millions behind fentanyl. So I don't know if it's like that as much in Tijuana.
It is. It's that mindset of the business mindset. Like whatever makes money. Like there's some people that have like regular companies, like legal company stuff. But if they can invest a few $100,000 and double them up real quick with like their narco friend, they would do it.
Really?
And some of them people are not even in the spotlight because they only do it like once every month, once every 6 months or whatever, you know, they just flip a little bit of money. But it's that business mentality. Like they don't want nothing with the politics. They don't care if El Chapo was in war with whoever, and they don't care who's king who. It's just business. You know what I mean? It's just money. They never see guns. They never see none of that shit. They just pure investment.
Now, if a load of cocaine, say 200 bricks, 200 keys makes it across, who's the first point of contact in San Diego? Like who's getting them? Is it somebody is it just a gang from San Diego?
No, I think it depends on whoever's load that is.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Because like also the loads, they could be like 50 kilos of somebody, 50 kilos of somebody.
Right.
So you got to send them to whoever the guy that sent them wants you to give them to, you know? That's why some of them are stamped and shit like that because it's just.
Now, do kilos get stepped on in Tijuana? Or are they already ready to go?
I think it depends on the. I'm pretty sure there's fools that's stepping on that shit when they get up here, but I'm pretty sure there's people that don't. You know, so
now in Culiacan, fentanyl selling of it retail to customers is completely illegal. The cartel will kill you. That's like an automatic death sentence.
That's good.
They know what it does to people, right? But in Tijuana, fentanyl I've heard is everywhere now. Is that true?
I don't know if everywhere, but in
Tijuana, I heard people are smoking it, using it.
The difference of Tijuana and Culiacan is Tijuana is a border town.
Yeah.
So everybody's sending drugs to Tijuana, like Culiacan sending drugs to everybody. So a lot of stuff is not going to make it across. A lot of stuff is going to be kept in Tijuana for their sale because, like we were saying earlier, the community in Tijuana and San Diego is so blended in that Tijuana, I think sometimes is more California than Baja California. So you have a lot of junkies from San Diego copying the drugs in TJ. So if you're a drug smuggler, you don't need to export your drugs because they're coming to get it. So you might as well have a little shop in TJ and let all these drug addicts from San Diego, these white dudes, all the bums, all those stuff, come and get their shit over here, and I just save my money, you know?
Right, and you don't have to risk sending it across.
That's why there's drugs. That's why the movement in Tijuana is way different than how it is in the rest of the country. Because
totally,
it's a whole different move.
It's so different than the rest of Mexico.
Yep.
So you've got now legal weed that you buy.
And
we're buying in dispensaries.
First time patient deals
in LA
and San Diego
or in San Diego. You could drive. There's no border going into Mexico. You could just drive it in.
They check back in those days. They only check for like guns or big amounts of money.
Right.
They never really check. Like if I have a couple ounces or whatever and like
just drive through.
I just drive through.
There's nobody working the checkpoints.
And it's not burnt. It's not a burnt business. Like nobody's driving weed back to Mexico.
Exactly.
Nobody. But I'm even laughing while I'm doing it. And then I even had a Facebook page, called Tijuana 420. And that's where I just posted. I never posted I sold weed.
Right.
I just posted good pictures of weed, and people got the hang of it. Of
course.
They'll be like, "Hey, you got anything for sale? You got it?" And then I would check them out and ask about them and stuff. And that's why I started selling to a lot of musicians, because it was an easy way for me to find out of who they were. Like, oh, they play for this group. So I'll just be like, hey, is he cool? Yeah, if he plays in a group, he's most likely a regular guy that wants to smoke.
Right.
So that's how I started getting the mix with musicians. I love music. I've always been the guy with headphones, always. So I already love music. I love corridos. I love rap. So now that all these musicians, that norteño musicians that are looking for me for weed, so I started getting advantage. I'm like, okay, I have something that they want and they have something that I want. So I start getting, I start selling to these famous people and stuff like that, and they publish me and so I'm started building a hype on the weed.
Wow.
business.
And you started branding it. You started putting the brand on it.
One of the brands was that I always bought from this certain dispensary. It's closed now, and they had their stickers. So what really helped is that there's this famous rapper people know. It's called Cartel de Santa from Monterrey. It's called Babo. He came to TJ for a presentation, but he was some of my girlfriends that I know, and they were like, "Hey, he's trying to pick up like a lot of weed. Can you sell me some?" And I was like, "Yeah, for sure." So I sent him a lot of pre-rolls and stuff with the sticker of the dispensary on it. So he posted it on the Instagram. So now all the people that follow me, they're like, "Oh, he sold to him." Like, "Oh, he's like," people hype that shit up. You know what I mean? So now I'm getting this hype, and I started meeting. Since I'm starting getting the music, and there's one friend that I met in jail that he actually has a company of he rents stages for big artists. So now every time he has a show in TJ, he's like, "Hey, I'm working for this guy. You want to come through and check out the show, be in stage with me, whatever?" And I'll be like, "Okay." So now I'm getting to know people that work the light engineer for Residente, who's pretty famous, Juanes, all these people from Puerto Rico and stuff. But their staff is buying weed for me. So every time somebody big comes, they call me. They're like, "Hey, can you bring us some stuff?" So now I start getting this hype that I sell to like these major artists. At the same time, mixing a lot with the local norteños and corridos and stuff.
And your cartel friends are the
and
bosses are buying it from you too.
Yeah, and they're buying it. They keep growing. They letting me work. They're letting me do my thing because they don't really care about weed. So
you've got like a good business now.
Everything's
How much
great.
weed are you moving a week?
Around that moment, it wasn't a lot. It was like 6 ounces, stuff like that. But eventually, I started copying like 4 pounds every week.
Wow, and just selling it down there.
And like pounds and pre-rolls and wax pens and edibles and all this stuff. But now it's like they're checking the border because a few years went by and now like people started getting caught in the border. People, shit like that. So now I'm actually transporting it like if it was. Like if I was going in the U.S., I gotta pack it up and hide it and do all this shit. I gotta pay a driver, I gotta do all this shit because now the business grew a little bit. So, but now the border is hot now, so it's all this. That's why I stopped too. Like once I started getting the music and stuff like that, and I just saw like more people were doing it, people were branding their shit. And I kind of like the old school selling way, like the
word of mouth. You had to have the good product and you had to have the hustle.
So I kind of got a little away with like sometimes now I have connections of people like in Guadalajara stuff that would be like, "Hey, can you get me a few pounds of this?" So like, and I know connections, so I just middleman that. Like, I could get you this. How many pre-rolls you want? You want some of the backpack boys? You want wax pens, whatever? Because now everybody's selling it in the South. Everybody's bringing to Mexico the legal shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know that Dominicans in New York are they're catching huge shiploads of weed getting sent to the Dominican Republic.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure everybody's getting American weed.
It's because it's so flooded in America. Yeah. The prices have in LA and San Diego, especially, have now come down to like cheaper than what you get in Mexico for.
Yeah.
And it's the highest quality. Yep. So, like a lot of people in Mexico have a lot of money. You can see it.
Now there's people growing in Mexico really good weed. Right. Now they invested in growing their own, and there's really good stuff going on. There's still maybe not as advanced as in California because California has been doing it since the 90s. Yeah. So this is paradise for weed. But eventually there's all this knowledge and everything has just been dripping down and spreading everywhere.
So obviously in Sinaloa, Culiacan, they have dispensaries now. They're illegal, but the Chapitos, the cartel, owns them and they control them. Is that happening in TJ as well?
There's very few like clandestine dispensaries like that because in Culiacan they have the government unlocked. Yeah, they have shit unlocked. Like nothing happens without them knowing. Right. And in Tijuana it's just crazy.
It's just chaos.
It's just chaos, bro. Like anybody, like you might be with, like I said, with a certain group of cops. but the municipal cops will tell you, or if you're with them, the state cops will get you. You know, so it's all this.
Yeah.
All this is
Right.
it's just chaos.
So if you open up a dispensary,
you
the
can open
cops
it
might
but you have
shut
to
it
keep it
down.
really, really
Yeah.
low key. Like it can be like in Culiacan, they're really cool dispensaries. Like
they look like LA dispensaries.
they got their brands. You know, everybody knows where they're at.
Totally.
You know, shit like that, and they're pretty cool. But in TJ, no, it really has to be like really low key, like really, really.
So
really
it's still street dealing.
yeah,
basically.
it's very street dealing. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot. That means there's money there still.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, there's a lot of money in TJ.
Oh yeah, especially in like dealers and stuff like that. That's the people that break most money. I mean,
Yeah,
because they're getting, like I said, if I buy an ounce for like $100 and I give it over for 250 or shit like that, and
yeah,
you know.
What are your cartel friends doing now? The ones who survived. Now you had friends that were killed in the
A bunch of friends
wars.
were killed, yeah.
What
Rest in peace
happened?
to all of them.
Yes, yeah, it's tragic. What your friends, your good friends that got killed, that sent you into a depression? Like, how did they pass? What happened to them?
Well, they were twins, but not the ones that look alike. The ones that just were born the same day.
Fraternal,
so, one of them was. Well, I'm trying to minimize the story, keep it short. But at first, when they were younger, like in their teenagers, well, one of them, El Gordo, they call him the fat boy. He was the one involved with the cartel shit. He would sell a lot of coke and shit like that. He was always in the clubs and he was making really good money. And the other one, he was he had a legal job. He was stayed in school and stuff like that. And then on our 20s, the papers flipped. The other guy went like a little on the dark side, and Fat Boy was on the legal. He was running a business with his family, a painting business, stuff like that. So he was making it. He actually wanted to take the right path. But his brother, he was in the middle of some shit, and he robbed some guys and he sold that shit to somebody else. And then the guy that he sold them to betrayed him, and the guy that he sold them to knew the guys that he robbed. So they set him up.
Oh,
So when he was about to go and get paid for the shit he sold, he asked his brother for a ride, thinking everything was cool. So his brother was like, yeah, I'll give you a ride. He knew what he was doing, but he never knew that they were gonna set them up. So they're just in the truck waiting for them to get paid, and some guys come out of nowhere and they shoot him.
and they killed both of them.
Yeah, they killed both of them.
Yeah, and there's really no justice system down there. You pretty much get away with killing.
Yeah,
especially in Tijuana.
Yeah, that's like I was saying earlier. There's innocent people dying because there's just crackheads taking advantage of the chaos of the city.
Yeah,
everybody's killing, nobody's getting caught. So
yeah,
it's just crazy.
Yeah. Do you go down there and do you fear at all for your own life? Or are you connected enough to where you feel like?
No, because even the connected guys are scared.
It seems like nobody's safe down there.
Nobody's safe at all. So, I mean, I don't know anything. I don't have beef with nobody. I'm cool with everybody. And I mean, if you have beef with me, let me know, because I don't know. You know, I don't have trouble with nobody. I really so, but I'm still sketchy to be over there. I like, because it's the environment that I mean. I might be I live in San Diego. I'm chilling, whatever. But if I don't go to TJ, okay, what do I want to go to TJ for? To hang out with friends. That's most of the time we're gonna be in the wrong place or spot. If I don't want to date a girl, I want to take out to a nice restaurant. The restaurants is, there's people there in the restaurant. So, and plus I'm known, and I'm known that I'm known. So like people know that I know, and there's things that might be misinterpreted. Like some people, because I'm friends with somebody, that might think that I work with them, but I really don't. You know what I mean? Some people like don't know me. They might be like, why does he hang out with him? Like, what does he give him shout out in his podcast? Because sometimes I shout people out in my podcast, but like I said, it's just a friendship. Like we don't talk about business. We don't. The messages I get from people like that are like, hey, what's up, bro? How you doing? Nice Tuesday, whatever. Hope everything's going good for your projects and shit like that. Like they send me the good vibes and I'm like, hey, hope everything's well. Like take care of yourself. I hope shit like that. And then we start talking like, who are you interviewing next? Oh, I'm gonna interview this guy and whatever. Oh, he's a dope music. It's just friendship.
I think the more you put yourself out there and plug your music, the safer you'll be. Because then you're publicly, look, this guy's
in TJ,
this
they
guy's
kill
not
artists.
active.
In TJ, they kill anybody, and nobody's safe out there. You really gotta know how to move, and make sure you don't put yourself in positions where people think bad of you. I don't want people to think that I'm moving drugs. I don't want people I'm just telling the story of the shit I live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not I'm not like currently doing anything. Like the people I keep communications with is because, like I said, they're friends. You know, they hit me up, and yeah, they might be able to get me out of trouble sometimes. You know, if I'm in TJ and I'm in some sort of trouble, I'd rather call them, you know, than actually try to fix shit for myself.
Or call the cops
because the system that they live in, they control that part. So like, I'm not gonna change this shit. So even if I went to go righteous and like, no, I pray every Sunday, shit like that. If I get in trouble in TJ, I have to. It's part of the system. Like I have to be.
Yeah.
I have to. What is it called? Like call somebody or
you gotta go through them.
You gotta go through them. Yeah, you gotta go through the politics.
How many bosses are in Tijuana right now?
Oh, well, I don't even want to say because what if I say like. What if somebody that's a boss and I don't count them and be like, all right, I'm a boss too, you know what I mean?
Overshoot it. Yeah.
So there's just a lot. There's probably like, I mean, there's like 3 cartels, and every cartel has
Jalisco, Tijuana, Sinaloa.
and all of them have like at least 3, right? Maybe so.
And what are their specificities? Like what? Can you tell the difference, first of all, ethnically between somebody who's from Jalisco and somebody who's from Sinaloa? Do they look different? I know they sound a little different.
No, it's just the sounds.
Just the sounds.
Just the accent, yeah.
What makes them different in terms of how they operate? Is there a difference? Does one push a different kind of drug? Nah,
it's kind of the same thing. Maybe if you really go deep in their operation, maybe there's stuff that they do different. But it's the same thing: selling, smuggling, killing.
Who's winning?
Where in TJ?
In TJ,
nobody.
Who's got the most people? Who's the?
Everything's pretty even right now.
This guy, I like this guy.
Everything's pretty even, man. I mean, everything. No, even if there was like, I know some of my friends are gonna be like, nah, we're winning because I went with Concrete, and I actually told my friends, I was like, hey, I'm getting interviewed by this white guy, and he just wants to know about what do you guys do. And I thought that my homie's gonna be like, nah, keep it low key, and they were like, nah, tell them we're the shit over here. Tell them we're ruling everything. Yeah. And I mean, even for them, I would be like they're not, you know, they rule their part, but there's other people that there's places where they don't go as much as there's places where these guys don't go, you know. So it's pretty even, bro. It's really pretty even.
So it's a city locked in a stalemate. It's like a city that's permanently at war.
I feel like it's like in LA, you got the Crips, the Bloods, and the Sureños, or like that. It's kind of like that. Like if you try to say who's winning, you can't really say. You know what I mean? Everybody's just all over, and everybody's doing good, and everybody has people dying. So like, you can't really tell.
Yeah, what is good? Doing good in Mexico is doing bad. You ever think about that? It's like a guy that runs a neighborhood in TJ, and he's, you know, he has people who work for him that get killed, and he straps some drugs onto a lady who goes to San Diego. That's doing good to him, you know?
Like I said, it really depends because there's no stereotype and I don't think there's a really certain stereotype on narcos, drug dealers. There's people that do that, but there's people that look down on that. Like they will never do shit like that. There's people that steal from other drug dealers. There's people that will never steal from other drug dealers. So it just depends on the person you are.
Let me ask you about this. This will be, and then we're gonna do the last half of this episode on Patreon. And this might take you out of left field, but I've heard this from a friend of ours whose name we won't say here. But what about organ smuggling, liver, heart? Does that happen in Tijuana? Are young, usually like street kids, kidnapped and have their organs harvested? Have you heard about this rumor?
Well, it's something that you've always heard of.
Yeah.
But I've been so deep in the streets that I never met anybody that does it. I never met anybody that's cool with kidnapping kids. I never met anybody that's cool with like dark shit.
No,
crime shit like that.
Know, I'm not asking if you hang around with people that think it's cool. I'm saying, have you heard of it existing? Like
No, that's what I'm saying. Like you hear of it, but I mean, I've met like from the lowest to the top boss, and I never met anybody that's actually cool with it. Like,
that's involved in it.
That's actually even cool with it. Like, all the people I met, at least in TJ, I'm pretty sure. I mean, shit, probably if you look for it, I mean, maybe because I've never but maybe if you start asking around, maybe you start, I wouldn't even put it.
But the cartel's not involved in it. The three factions aren't involved.
Not in TJ, maybe in the South. People are more savages in other places, and then, there's other crimes committed in other places because, like I said, in TJ, it's a border, so it's gonna be way different what goes on in a border town than what goes on in the center of the.
But that's interesting though. So that is something. My friend wasn't wrong.
Hey man, I'm pretty sure if you go look for it, you probably find
in TJ. Connect. You've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I've always heard it, but I've never actually came across of somebody be like, "Hey man, you know anybody that needs like a liver or something?" Right. You never.
What is? But what is the rumor? What is? So it sounds like
it's just the rumor that like you can find it.
It's like a fifth. It's a myth.
Just like the donkey show that they used to have in the 70s or something. People actually think that still goes on right now, but that's not. There's nowhere that shit goes on anymore. So it's something like that. It's just fucking
gotcha. So we don't know if it's a myth that happened once. We don't. Know. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. But
I mean, Zona Norte is a crazy place. So
what is Zona Norte?
It's where Hong Kong is. Like that block of Hong Kong is nice. It's all light up. It looks like Vegas. But you go around the corner, bro, and lights turn off. and nice. like that shit is in the middle of a jungle. Let me put it to you like this.
Okay.
That's in the middle of the jungle. You go 2 blocks away from where all the lights are. There's people fighting with machetes. There's kids playing in the middle of the street next to the guys fighting machetes. The machete guys, they're just fighting among themselves. They won't hurt the kids. The kids are the sons and daughters of the lady that owns a little retail store of like, you know, but she also prostitutes herself or one of, you know. So there's Zona Norte is chaos. You have really nice houses and next to like abandoned hotels where people buried and shit like that. So Zona Norte is just, it's crazy. So maybe that's the place if you want to go look for
shit
some like organs. That maybe that's where you go.
I need a new heart.
Like I said, Zona Norte is, like I said, my mom was born there and I was roaming those streets really young. I saw this. I saw people fighting with machetes. I saw all kinds of shit there. But I've never came across nobody selling organs.
Gotcha.
So, I mean.
All right. So that's the one thing that Mexicans don't sell. I'm sure it's happening, but you know, it's nasty business. Well, I want to save some stories for the Patreon. Go over to patreon.com/theconnectshow. Tell us about your podcast, man. This is what you're here to plug.
Yeah, well, since I started getting involved with a lot of musicians and famous guys and stuff, and I was really always in entertainment. Like ever since I got off of probation, and I had to live in San Diego, couldn't go to TJ, so I started getting into a lot of YouTube and satellite radio. I love comedy. Like I started listening a lot to like the Opie and Anthony show and all this stuff. Like the beginning of the Joe Rogan show. All those like before podcast was a thing.
Wow, yeah.
I started listening to that because I was in San Diego and didn't really have any friends. Like my school friends and stuff, they were living like regular lives. You know what I mean? They were what they would call like squares and stuff like that. But actually they were doing healthy stuff. Yeah. And I was just on some other shit that I couldn't even relate. You know what I mean? So I just stayed home basically and saw like 1 or 2 friends from now and then. But I was always like on the computer going through like, because I was all those years that I left like graffiti and stuff, I also got away for like music and all like my creative side and my artistic side. So I just started getting back to like, what has Dr. Dre been doing? What has Snoop Dogg been doing? So I just started searching all these names of like people I was a fan of and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I started getting really deep into entertainment and the YouTube and all this movement and stuff. So I always thought like, man, if somebody did like this stuff in Spanish, it would, you know, it would be great.
Of course.
But at this point, I didn't know anything about the industry. Like I didn't know anything about production, nothing. I just had like that anxiety of doing something, of getting. I remember I was working in the job I got that got me off probation. I stayed in that job even after I got off probation. But I always had this like, I was like, man, what the fuck am I doing here? Like I want to do something
cool.
Yeah, and not even like on street shit. Like I was always watching like YouTube stuff. Like I said, comedy and shit like that, or everybody's just getting into that. My favorite rappers and stuff. I remember Snoop Dogg had this show on Tuesday where it was just him live on Facebook smoking and mixing music and stuff before, you know, his channel and shit. So I always had this notion of like the industry and all that stuff. So yeah, I always thought of doing it in Spanish, but in Spanish, nobody was doing it. Nobody was willing to listen to a 2-hour podcast back in the day and shit like that. So I just started getting in the mix with music and just basically I was like, I'm gonna stick to this and see where this takes me because that was my, like I started with Codiciado and then we started making it. We started like becoming big. And that's where I started seeing like more options. Like, okay, well now I could manage a group. So I got a rap group. I saw little rappers coming on. And so now I'm connected with the industry so I could get them a few feeds, you know, beats and shit like that. But it wasn't really, I still want to do something like me. Like since I come from the streets, I never loved the spotlight. I never want to be in the front of the cameras because I come from this old school where like, you
don't talk. You don't want to be, you don't want to put yourself out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was really hard for me to actually think of doing actually something for me where I'm the main guy. So at first I started getting, after I knew a few like influencers and stuff that on the Mexican side, I was like, hey, you should do a podcast. And they were like, what's that? And I would show them. At this time, I was really fan of like Drink Champs and stuff like that. So I was like, if we do that in a Mexican style, like in a cantina with like musicians and drinking and stuff, that would work. And they were like, that's pretty cool, man. But I don't know. Maybe you're the host. And I'm like, nah, I want to produce it. I don't want to be the host. And I got the same answer for like 3 different guys. And I was like, man, I don't want to be the host of this shit. Like, you know what I mean? I don't want to be out there. But eventually it got to a time where I'm like, you know what? This, I'm going to do it.
Right.
And when I started doing it, when I actually announced it, and I'm going to do a podcast, and I got my first, everybody that I knew in the industry, like, bro, what the took you so long? You know, that everybody was just with open arms and everybody's working and stuff. And
so I'm trying to figure out who your equivalent is in English. Like you're like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Because I watch a lot of.
You're of the industry.
I go from Concrete to Andrew Schultz to Vlad TV to Drink Champs to I'm pretty aware of everybody, but I don't.
What do you do on your podcast? Like, who do you push? Do you push artists? Is it a rap podcast? Is it a culture? Is it kind of all of it?
It's kind of.
And can I come on it?
Oh, you're already invited, bro. Like,
why haven't I had you? Yeah, thank you. I've been waiting for it, bro.
You're already invited.
I speak Spanish.
We do it in motherfucking Spanish. Do it as soon as you can. Let's do it. But it's kind of a mix of like, I already have the industry. A lot of people in the industry, they know me, so they know where I come from. They know a little bit of my background. So I started off different. Like before the fans knew me, I already lived that with the famous people. So they all know me, but I now just need the fans and but people are picking up to my story. So it's not really a concept because I know people like Luis.
Yeah.
I know people that rap. Yeah. I know people that box. I know people that are in cartel.
Yeah.
I know people in jail. So it's just my essence in the podcast. Like I'm inviting all my friends.
Oh, so you just got a big ass podcast.
Yeah, I'm just inviting my friends. Right. Sometimes I invited my friend. He's doing politics and he's very, like the president knows him by name because he's just been with him since forever. So I had him on my podcast. I had this, you know who Carlos Santana is?
Yeah.
Well,
I think I've heard of that guy.
I interviewed the guy that taught him how to play the guitar.
Wow.
And he has stories for like he used to play in this small clubs in Mexico City, and every time Jim Morrison has shows, they would go see him.
Wow.
And it will go see him, the Rolling Stones, all these guys.
Him and Jim Morrison?
Yeah.
Fucked. We didn't know that.
So yeah, I mean, I have people like him. So it's just, you know, I'm gonna start having people like you in English and stuff like that. So it's just a little bit of a part of me and the shit I want to show.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff I really want to show is I'm interviewing a lot of people from TJ.
Yeah.
All kinds of, like the politic guy, he's from TJ. The guy that taught Carlos Santana how to play, he's a native TJ. All the rappers and like some musicians I've had, they have something to do with TJ.
Right.
I interviewed a guy, he's from Culiacan, and he sings to the people over there, and I met him in a party over there and shit like that. But the corridos and the music, that's our connection. So
you're gonna have like the flagrant Joe Rogan podcast of Mexico.
Hopefully, man. Shout out to Andrew Schultz and shout out to Mark Gagnon. He DM'd me. He wants me to have him on. I'm just waiting.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's fucking
together.
awesome, bro.
But yeah, I mean, and I want to break that a language barrier.
Yeah.
I want to come back. I want to come back here to LA. I know. I like the Brown Bag podcast, like Duno, and I know a few people local from here. I mean, I don't know them, but I'm aware of them. So I've been trying to, like, you know, because everybody knows about TJ, everybody knows, but there's nobody really doing content or exposing the shit that goes on. Like I follow Instagrams from over here, like just like a Grindface, shout out to Grindface, like the full community and stuff. And sometimes they publish news from TJ, where I'm like, bro, who told you this? Like, where do you get this information? Like, and I wanna kind of like clear some of that shit and really, not only about the street shit. Like, I really want to put out like all the talent that comes out there, like all the really. Like, not everybody's doing bad shit out here, you know what I mean?
Just think about the connection between the corridos in Mexico and LA. Because this is where they record most of it. It's in LA, right?
Because there's a lot of market out here. There's a lot of Mexicans out here that backed it up and everything. So
think about that.
It's just a big hype, you know.
Actually,
the music is doing really good because all the hype that's going on in the streets.
Yeah,
you wouldn't know of a song of El Chapo if you've never heard of El Chapo, or at least you wouldn't care about the song. But now you hear about these guys. oh, they got rescued. His brothers rescued this guy because he got arrested. They took it from the military. Oh, so now everybody, it's like world news.
So the corridos literally break news with their songs.
Yeah, now
that's fucking
now if you see
crazy,
a news,
bro.
if you see the news like, oh, Chapo got caught, he did whatever, and then you hear, oh, these guys are singing about Chapo. What are they saying? And you're like, oh shit, and you're getting more from the news. I mean, you get more from the music than the news because the songs actually have to be authorized by the guy. Like I can't write a corrido about somebody and not ask him permission. Like he actually has to go listen to it, be like, nah, don't say this and say this and that. So to be honest, sometimes corridos are more accurately than the news.
Wow.
That's why I call Luis a lot of times on his stuff. And actually, I remember he said some stuff when they
beef, bro.
No,
go after Luis right now.
Nah, he's my brother. But but I remember one time he published something about a really famous. There's this guy a character that has a lot of corridos, like a bunch. And all his corridos say the same shit. So if you want to say like you probably know, like you know this guy, you feel like you know this guy already. So Luis was saying some shit that has nothing to do with the character. And I even told him like, bro, like there's like 10 corridos you could listen about this guy. You get more information. And he was like, well, no, actually, he's like, yeah, you're right. I saw both. He's like, I saw the military like official report about the guy. And I saw the corridos, but I was like, nah, I'm gonna go with the military. And bro, the military report was way off. And I'm like, it's so impressive to me. It's surprising how this information is in like 20 songs, but you guys still go to like your least trustable,
to like the official source.
Yeah, official. But I mean, you got musicians with authorized lyrics telling you that this guy's from this place, he came from this, he does this, he works for such and such, and he's whatever.
That's fascinating, dude.
So like that's some
Mexicans are gossipy, aren't you? Everybody's talking.
Well, I mean, if you talk about trap and all the drill shit going on, they talk about the guy that killed, where they kill him, they smoking on him, and you know what I mean. So
so corridos is trap music. Basically, for Mexico.
Yeah, basically it's trap music.
Wow.
And it's
now, are there corridos that sing specifically for cartels in TJ? Or
well, that's how it started. The politics. There's certain groups that only sing to certain cartels.
Really?
And they get in trouble because doing that gets you involved in the politics.
Right.
If you're one of the musicians who are like, you know what, I'm gonna sing to everybody. I don't have beef with you. I don't have beef with you. If somebody comes up to you and be like, hey, why you're singing to him? Be like, look, man, this is my job. You probably talk to somebody that I don't like, and I don't, you got to stay professional with the cartel stuff, because if you start taking like their side on like, that guy, and you diss him on their corrido stuff, well, now you got enemies.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you're not in the cartel. You're not riding around in trucks.
Yeah, you don't
taking
have
care of
guns.
yourself. You're just a guy that has shows
out in the open.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we know where you're at.
Yeah. So, and that's why a lot of people get killed. Like a lot of artists get killed.
Do corridos get killed?
Yeah. There's been
so how do you protect yourself as a corrido? You just stay professional.
You stay professional and stay neutral.
Can you still break the news though? Can you still sing for Jalisco?
Yeah.
If you get permission from them.
There's groups that are doing it right now that are handling very well.
Just don't go after another cartel.
Yeah, and
right?
then there's cartel bosses that actually understand that part on their side, because at the end of the day, if a cartel has you singing for them, like it's having you for parties and stuff like that. At the end of the day, they're fans.
Yeah.
So they don't really want to beef with the guy that they like to sing. So if you stay professional, stay like that, and they're like, okay, he's cool. He knows his place. He knows he's not in this shit. So he
sang a song for Jalisco, but maybe I'll hire him to sing one for Sinaloa or whatever.
Exactly. And as long as he doesn't diss any of us, we're all cool. He's making his money, I'm making my money. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the bosses are not even beefing with each other. It's the lower street levels. Like you meet the bosses and they're cool with each other. Maybe not cool, but they're like, oh, you have a corrido for that guy, right? And you're like, oh shit, he hates him. He's like, yeah, that's cool. That's a good corrido, man. That's dope. Hey, make sure mine is dope too.
That's what it is.
They do shit like that because, like I said, at the end of the day, if they want you to sing for them, they're fans.
They're fans.
Yeah,
and they got money.
Yeah. But just like a fan, they could take an action. If a fan, if you say no to a fan of picture or something, they'll probably hate you forever, know? So it's
There's
the same.
No saying
so
no.
It's the same for the cartel. They're just a fan, so if you make something the wrong move, sometimes they might take it personal too. And it's not the same as a regular fan taking it personal as one of those guys taking it personal.
I feel like you really, when you deal in that world, but you're not one of them, you really gotta have a strong, but you also have to you walk this line between, you can't let them disrespect you. You can't let them walk on you, but you also have to remain respectful the whole time. You know what I mean?
I think just
it's
remaining respectful.
It's a delicate balance.
Remaining respectful is what keeps you from them disrespecting you.
Yeah.
Because like everyone knows, respect is earned. So if you come respectful, it's probably most of the time you're gonna get respect.
But you have to have your position too. Be like, I don't make diss songs.
Yeah, yeah. Most of them. I mean, at least the smart ones will tell you if you call them and you're like, hey, you know what? I'm such and such from the Jalisco, from the Sinaloa, whatever, and I want a corrido made by you. And you should, as a musician, you should be like, okay, just so you know, I don't diss nobody, and maybe my lyrics are low key. There's people that'll be like, okay, what do you want me to say? I'll say anything you want me to say. There's people that'll be like, I'll say anything except this is, you know, it really depends. But the smart ones know not to get involved in the politics.
What are your goals besides the podcast? How would you like to see this grow and expand? Like, do you want to be? Do you just want to do the podcast? Do you want to be a content creator overall?
Yeah, probably content in general, because I also write. I forgot to mention, I started, I write since I was young. I like just write stories of the shit I've heard. Even when I was little, when I would hear about gangs or shit like that, I would write stories about just invented gangs and shit like that. So I made up stories. So now I'm making up a story of like, just like, let's say like it's another universe in TJ, because I'm fictitious characters, like no real, like nothing. It's based on real shit that I saw, but you're not gonna connect it to none like specific events. So I actually want to make that in videos. I want to make like short clip movies, and I want to start doing that with the podcast. I want to keep doing the podcast and just interviewing because I like talking to cool ass people. But eventually, I'm with my writing, I want to put that into visuals.
Yeah,
and it's and yeah, I've been working on that. I know a lot of people on productions and stuff. I'm always asking them for tips. I've been trying like some like one take shots like videos and stuff where I only need like really low budget stuff. I got a few cameras and stuff, so I work with that. Like, okay, I see music videos or stuff that they use like one shots or really cheap low budget shit, and I just imitate it just to learn how to do it, and then just put it into my project. But yeah, eventually I'm gonna do that, and with my friend from Codicial, we're gonna hopefully start a little, maybe like a label stuff where we find new talents of artists. The podcast and my writing. My friend used to be one of the most wanted back in 2010 and stuff like that. He was in the DA in when you cross the border, you know, they always have that. Well, one of them is a good friend of mine. He's in jail. He's serving time, but he's writing his book. And since I like to write, and on the street, he knew some people that told him, hey, you know what, such and such is writing. Maybe he could help you with your book. He got into contact with me, and I've been helping writing his book. It should be in Amazon probably later this year or next year. But yeah, El Gordo Villarreal, Bandidos Reales, shout out to him.
There you go, promote it on the podcast.
Yeah, that too. I'm gonna have him on the podcast. I'm on a call because he's locked up. But I'm gonna have maybe a few cartel guys are willing to come on the podcast and stuff. And some of them retired too. Some of the people that served time and they were back in the days with the Arianas and stuff like that, and they got cool stories.
Man, if they'll come on the pod,
some of them, I'm telling you,
millions of views.
Yeah, some of them are actually offering themselves without me asking, just having a good talk, and then they're like, hey, you know what, I'll probably be down with that podcast thing. And I'm like, hey man, whenever you want, like I'll put a mask or something. And they're like, nah, not that. Like I served my time, I did my time. Like nobody's gonna shit, because I know some hard people, bro. Like I know some people that you know, and
well, if there's one thing that people want the most in this world, it's fame. People want to be known. That's the drug dealer's downfall. Is that they can't stay anonymous. They want to be famous.
I read something about criminals that eventually they want to get caught because they want to be praised.
They want to be in the news.
They want to be like, yeah, I got away with all this shit. So it's just crazy, man.
Every ex-mafia member in the United States, they all have podcasts now. They're all snitching.
As long as the content goes wise, where you were asking me who can I relate to?
Yeah,
just the content, because the interviewer is nothing to do with me. Maybe Vlad or Andrew Schultz type thing. Maybe that because they have a really variety of their stuff
for sure.
But they don't have the background as me. So the people I interview, they talk to me because they know that I'm real. Like at least the first 40 people that I'm gonna have, I'm on my 12th episode, 13th episode. But at least like the first 40 people I'm gonna have, they're all friends that know me from that I've been doing this.
You translate it?
Oh man, if you can help me, if you can help me, because I try translate it, bro, and
I want to watch it.
I'm
intrigued.
Ever
by
since
this.
I was in Concrete, I get tons of messages from people that don't speak Spanish, and they're like, "When are you translating your podcast?" I'm like, "How? Like this is hard because we talk a lot of slang. I try to translate it myself, like listening to it, but you know, it's crazy. People show me like, oh, there's AI doing it, but the AI don't pick up the slang. So now, I mean, if there's somebody can help me translate everything, like at least word for word or something,
Yeah.
like please hit me up, man. Please,
Yeah.
because I really want to do content in English. Not only interview people in English, but I want to translate the content I'm doing in Spanish so they understand and because that's where the real stories that you guys want to hear. That's where they are. So yeah, man, I mean,
well, there's tons of ways to do that. There's people in the Philippines that'll probably translate that shit for you. So you'll figure it out. But I think for now there's enough market of Latinos in places like LA and San Diego that you could blow it up on both sides. Man.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to break that barrier and for instance, El Gordo Villarreal, he speaks Spanish. He speaks both English. He speaks English and Spanish, so I'll probably do one in English with him too.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a good one because he used to hang out with Ramon and and all that stuff. So
he's locked up right now.
Yeah,
Where's he at?
In Arizona.
How much time is he doing?
I think he got 30 years. They probably lowered down. Hopefully, hopefully he gets some time cut off or a good time and stuff like that. But he's still looking at it. Another 10 years.
Doing a long bid, man.
Yeah.
Well, man, absolutely go check out his podcast. Follow him. What's your socials?
On Instagram at El Bordo at ELBORDOMX. That's El Bordo MX on Instagram and YouTube too.
What's El Bordo mean?
It means the border. But we call the wall.
Yeah.
In Spanish they call it El Bordo.
El Bordo. Okay.
Yeah, in Spanish they're like, están levantando el bordo. Oh, El Bordo. Or you live close to El Bordo. I live right next to El Bordo. So people that know there's a lot of people that related when I posted like the logo and pictures and stuff like that. They're like, oh, this is.
Do you think I climbed El Bordo, but from the U.S. side into Mexico? You think I go viral?
Oh, if you do it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was gonna say something, but I'll say it.
Save it.
I was like, I know a few spots maybe you could get some good shots, but
sure.
Never mind. I don't.
I'm sure you can help me out.
Yeah.
Okay, man. Well, this has been a fantastic episode. We'll come back anytime, and I'd love to do your pod.
Oh no, you will. Yeah.
We're gonna stay in touch. Follow us. We're gonna go do a quick Patreon episode. We're gonna talk all about organ harvesting. I'm just kidding, of course. Follow us, The Connect Show, patreon.com/The Connect Show. And Fernando, really appreciate it, buddy.
Hey, thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
You're killing it. You got it. All right, guys.